Feature Friday, all my quilting friends. Thank you guys so much for joining me today. I appreciate y'all being here. So over the long weekend, I found something that I forgot I had. I guess you would call it a UFO, but it was a forgotten UFO. So it's not really the UFO's fault that it didn't get done. It's my fault that it didn't get done. I made this particular project for my sister for a Christmas gift, and I duplicated it while I was cutting it out because it's an applique and it had a lot of pieces, and I loved it, and I figured, oh, well, I'll make one for her and one for me, and then I forgot that I made one for me. So I found it over the weekend and I thought, I need to get this done. Now this is going to be a little bit different because I'm not making a quilt back for the applique to be stitched onto. I'm taking just a piece of fabric and putting some quilt design work on it, but it's not going to be puffy. There's no batting in it. I actually took some stabilizer that I use when I'm making clothing. It's just an iron-on lightweight stabilizer, and put that on the back of my background fabric that I want to use to just give it a little sturdiness when I'm quilting, and that's it. I'm not making it puffy because it has to go in a frame. So I don't really want to have batting in it. So this is kind of a quilting project, kind of a sewing project, kind of an art project because it is going to go in a frame up on my wall. And I thought, I'm going to share this little journey with you guys. I really love this and I can't believe I forgot that I had it. So I'm going to share it with you guys now and we'll get started. Okay. Here is my fantastical unicorn applique, and you guys are probably thinking, that is so cute. How could she forgot about that? Like, how could she do that? But I did forget. I'm so sorry, Mr. Unicorn. He is super fancy. I love his polka dot bow tie, but you guys know I love polka dot anything. And I made this quite a few years ago. My sister has had her version of this hanging up in her house for a very long time. So it's time my version of this gets done. And before you guys go asking, it is Jagger the Unicorn from So Quirky. I have a couple of So Quirky's applique patterns. I just love them. They are the cutest little animals. I also have the Frankie the little Frenchie dog. He's the cutest. He has little glasses on. I haven't done that one either. It's all applique together. So I kind of have two UFOs that I found over the weekend, y'all. Anyways, these are great little patterns for applique, super cute animals, and we are getting our unicorn done, y'all. So the background fabric that I chose is this pretty blue fabric, and I'll flip it over so you guys can see how I ironed on my stabilizer. You can kind of see the texture there. That is my iron-on stabilizer. You can see a little bit of it hanging here off the edge. This is stabilizer that I use when I'm making clothing for myself. I put it in waistbands or collars or cuffs or, you know, anywhere that requires a lightweight stabilizer. So it is nothing fancy, but I figured it would give a little bit of stability to this particular fabric while I'm quilting on it. The only other thing I have is backing fabric here. There is no batting involved. So we're going to see how this works out. Projects are up for experimentation all the time, and I thought I might as well experiment with this style of using my long arm for quilting. I need a little bit of interest on this fabric since that unicorn is so interesting. So we are going to look at our robot here. I am in my layout screen, and the orange layout box you see here is just kind of this area up here of my blue fabric that I'm using for my background. And we need to add our pattern. So we're going to come over to the left-hand side of our display, open our patterns, and I know what I'm looking for. So I'm going to go down to my white bar here and tap on it so I get my keyboard to open up. and I'm gonna type in the word bubble. Surprise, surprise, y'all know I love my bubbles, my circles, and I'm gonna use this one here, the bubble border. I'm gonna highlight it and hit my check mark on the right-hand side of my display. That has now added one repeat of that into this. But you can see I have plenty of space off to the right and down to the bottom that we're going to need to fill in with our repeat function. When we add a pattern, we automatically get moved up to edit on the left-hand side of our display. We'll come to the right-hand side of our display and we're going to hit our repeat function up here. When that's highlighted orange, you can see we get our horizontal repeat and our vertical repeat. We're going to be using both of those to fill in our layout space. I'm going to want lots and lots of bubbles so that I fill in nice and dense behind my unicorn. I'm going to first start with my horizontal repeats and I'm going to fill across to the right. I'm going to continue to hit my plus sign next to my horizontal repeat until I think I have enough. 7 is probably good for me. Now we need to fill in our vertical repeats going down to fill in the bottom part of our box. I'm going to hit my plus sign here and fill in vertically. And I think 4 is probably enough. I think that looks really good. As you can see, we've got a lot of bubbles outside of our orange layout box. So it's time to go to scale and make all of that fit inside our layout box. I'm going to come over to the right-hand side of my display and highlight scale. And you know I like my fancy features, so instead of using my minuses to shrink this down to fit into my orange box, I'm going to use my auto scale feature. And at the touch of a button, all of my bubbles fit perfectly inside of my layout box. The only other thing that I plan on doing right now is merging all of my rows together, because right now you can see that I have 4 start points, all those little green dots at the beginning, and 4 stop points, all of the little red squares at the end. If I come over here to the right-hand side of my display and use my merge button, which looks like 2 little squares with an arrow bringing them together into one, I will merge all of my rows, all of my designs together into one unit, and now I have 1 start point and 1 stop point. So it's not going to stop at the end of each row. It's going to continue from the end all the way to the beginning of the next. It's going to jump very long stitches across the top of my little quilt, but it's not very big, so I'm not worried about that. I think this is just a little bit larger than a fat quarter, so it's not a big space. So right now, I think we're ready to stitch out, but before we do that, I want to show you guys the thread that I'm using. Because I thought it was really pretty and it's going to look nice against this background. This was something free that I got with something I ordered, and this is a really pretty shiny thread that is a little bit pink, a little bit blue, and a little bit white, and I thought that that might look very magical against the blue background here for our little unicorn to sit against. So I thought that was kind of pretty. I don't know that the camera is doing it any justice, but in person, it's a very pretty thread. And it's from Superior Threads, and this is Fantastico on the top, just in case anybody wants to know. All right, I think we're ready to go. So we are going to come to our home button at the top left of our display. I'm going to turn on my needle so that it stitches and not traces. And then I'm going to go ahead and hit my green button to start. We're going to double check our directions. The machine's going to move to the start of our pattern block, and the pattern's going to start, and we're going to make sure our needle is not in the fabric. It needs to be in the up position. So I'm just double checking here. It is up. So I can hit my green check mark. And we are now going to move over to the start point that I set for my pattern box. And my directions are telling me to pull my bobbin thread up, so I'm going to go ahead and do that. And I've got both of my little tails here. I'm going to hit the green check mark on my display. And it's going to take its tie-off stitches. And off we go. I'm going to let this stitch out for a little bit and I'll be right back with you guys. So just a quick note for y'all, even though I did merge the rows, it is having me cut my thread at the end of a row before it moves on to the next one. So I just finished row 2 here and it is having me cut my thread before it wraps around to start row 3, which will be down here. Just wanted y'all to know, I expected it to run straight across, but you know, I don't have my jump stitches set, so it might have to do with that. Just wanted to make that note in case y'all were curious. We'll be back. All right, quilting friends, so we are at the end of our first quilt out. So that is a total of 4 rows. That's what we had here on our screen, and I would say I am pretty happy with how this turned out. The stabilizer that I ironed onto the blue fabric was definitely a must, because you can see kind of on the edges of my backing fabric where there was no stabilizer, how kind of wrinkled up and pulled in the design kind of got. So that was definitely a must for our blue fabric here, that we had that iron-on stabilizer there. So I'm going to continue with this project. Thank you guys so much for joining me today and helping me get my UFO done. I'm glad I found this little project, and you may see a little bit more of it when it is getting finished. Thank you guys so much, and we'll see you soon. Bye.